Welcome back to the Nerdrotic podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I am live in San Francisco, California. And tonight I have both my co-hosts with me. Down in San Diego, we have Dennis Bithoulkas, and down in Hollywood, we have Jon Rood. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hola. How's it going? I'm doing good.
It's good. We're all doing good. Everybody's doing good. There's some fire stuff happening.
Yeah.
There is.
There is. I haven't heard from my mom yet.
No.
Yeah. I'm sure she's fine. If things were bad, I was supposed to hear from her, but she's still in the evacuation zone. But I heard the fire kind of went down, so everything's cool. But I could also bail at any moment if I get a phone call. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, this is our Friday Night Live podcast. This is the main podcast, episode 113 of the Nerdrotic podcast. The podcast that started it all. And it's kind of a free-for-all tonight. We throw out some topics, we talk about them, but we get you guys involved in the chat once we get some people in. I'm going to open it up right now and not listen to myself, and that would be fine. And yeah, Dennis, start us out, man.
So there's a little movie that's coming out with Natalie Portman called Annihilation. It's a sci-fi movie based on a book, and the book was kind of considered to be almost unfilmable. It's actually the director is the guy who did Ex Machina, and I guess testing of it, Alex Garland is his name, the guy who directed it. The testing of it was too smart by one of the producers of the film, and the producer's name is David Ellison. He's the head of Skydance Productions. And another producer named Scott Rudin says, no, it's actually right where it should be. So just so you know, Scott,
let's dial that back. So one of the producers said it was too smart. So like this movie is just like too smart for everybody. So we need to not put it out or dumb it down. Is that what he said?
We need to either dumb it down or just not put the marketing dollars. We're not going to get them back, right?
And the other producer, who Scott Rudin, says, no, it's fine. Leave it as is. Audiences will get it. That's what they want. Now, Scott Rudin has been behind movies such as The Social Network and Lady Bird, whereas David Ellison has been behind such classics as Geostorm and Terminator Genesis.
So
obviously he's so right funny. Then.
Yeah, to me, this really does sound like, first of all, I just want to say I'm so happy to be joining you guys for one of these finally. And I'm sure my opinion will be the more annoying one of the panel every single topic we hit on. But look, this is either a guy trying to like not put money behind something and giving some sort of an excuse that maybe the director will find palatable, or he actually believes that and he's like a total tool, right? Like the fact that the reason not to put money behind something is because it's too smart and an audience won't get it is like,
it's already
that guy needs to be locked up.
It's already filmed. That's the whole thing. This has already gone through test screenings. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but they still have to put marketing money behind this thing, right?
Yeah, they already have. They already have been marketing it.
Well, I haven't heard about it.
I've actually put a trailer up if you looked at our webpage, or looked, our Facebook page. But anyway, what's going on? The big news.
Oh yeah, like you ever go to our website, Dennis? Come on. That's
so the big news of this is it's going to hit North America and China, and then 17 days later, it's going to hit Netflix overseas. So
what about here? What's it doing here?
It's not going to. It's going to come out in the theaters here, and in China. So in the United States and Canada, and China, and then 17 days after that, it's going to come out in Netflix overseas, like Europe and stuff like that, instead of hitting the theaters over there, which is really kind of stupid. Unless,
yeah, because you'll be able to pirate the crap out of it. Like once it hits Netflix, it's on Pirate Bay like 30 seconds later.
Exactly.
So, yeah, this sounds like it sounds like two egotistical producer. Well, that's oxymoron. Two producers fighting, and one just pissing on the other. And as soon as it goes, it's dead. This movie must kind of suck. That's the way I see it.
Which is a shame because the book I heard is really, really good. It's actually on my reading list of things once I It's there. So, moving on, our other big news of the week is the DCEU has a big shakeup there. Basically, DC, after Justice League kind of stumbled, and by stumbling, we mean it only made like $600 million. So what's happening is Warner Brothers is planning to restructure the DC Films operation by getting rid of John Berg, who is running the comic book film production division, and then they're going to search for his replacement, but they're just kind of like leaving it in limbo at the moment. Right now, John Berg, excuse me, is going to become the production partner with Roy Lee, who is the producer of the Lego Movie and It. And no one knows exactly what they're going to be doing, but the head of this DCEU is basically gone.
Yeah, there is none.
There is none.
The word is actually what we've been saying all along is the DCU needs it. Well, if you're going to do a cinematic universe, or forget cinematic, if you're going to have a franchise, you need to have somebody who is absolutely in charge. You need a dictator. Dictators work in Hollywood. Not
Kevin
real.
Feige's been doing that for quite a while now.
Yes, he has, and he has an iron fist. But Jeff Johns was not the guy. And he's going to be quietly, after getting all the credit with Wonder Woman, he is being shoved out the door, which makes you wonder about the whole Brian Michael Bendis deal, because Bendis went over with Johns to go work in the DCEU, and now that's gone. Yep. So poor Brian Michael Bendis, he just got screwed again before he even got there. So he's been, and I know from insiders that he's been wanting to, he still wants to write comics, but he really wants to write scripts. And it doesn't look
he'll be fine. They'll let him do whatever he wants. He'll be working on Batman's, as soon enough. Bendis will be fine.
Yeah, but in comics, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm not worried about him. He's not going to be starving or anything like that.
Right. But I do think that it's weird that DC has put their properties in the hands of not the most critically acclaimed of filmmakers in the past, like a Zack Snyder, who's very some people love them and some people don't, right? They're very stylistic. They're very, their audiences are split. Whereas Marvel has had a hard time working with directors like that, right? They usually settle on broad appeal directors or niche directors. So I don't know. I think it's interesting the way DC has gone about this. I just think it's where do you think they go next, though? Are they going to hire a dictator like a Kevin Feige to make sure there's quality control against the whole universe of pictures about the DCEU? Are they going to have a overseer, or are they going to use more of a different model where it's just kind of, a director will tackle a certain subject matter, like the Batgirl director won't be, working closely with the Justice League director, who won't be working closely with the Batman director. Are they just going to put out movies from now on and not really worry about the expanded universe?
They've already said that they're basically going to be doing one-offs here and there, and none of these movies are going to be tied together. They've announced this, what was about 4 months ago?
Well, that's changed 3 times since then. So the word on the street on this one is, and Mr. Langley has joined us. Hello. I love that WB wants to get rid of the guys that came in recently to fix things. Steering a franchise back on course is like moving an oil tanker. No kidding. I see the thing with Kevin Feige is he was there from the get-go. He helped produce the X-Men movie. He was working with Avi Arad. I mean, he worked with one of the best producers of all time in Hollywood. That guy, Avi Arad, left Disney. He could have ran the Marvel franchise. He chose to leave because he didn't like Disney's meddling. So you can't just find. So they haven't had the continuity of a guy who's been here from the beginning, or girl who's been there from the beginning and understands DC Comics. So this isn't something you can just find. They closed that. Apparently they were making the DCU in their own studio. They were on their own. They were autonomous from Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers just took them back, and they're going to have. This is according to I forgot her name. She does movie trailer. I forgot. It's a movie trailer YouTube channel. She's really good. But she said that it's movie people are going to be in charge. So it's not going to be comic book people at all. They're all gone. So it's just going to be Warner Brothers people. Now, that could be good or bad. Warner Brothers at one time was very, very good. Don't be surprised if Chris Nolan comes back up again. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you hear his name.
No, they actually have interviewed him fairly recently, asking him why his movies have worked and the other movies haven't. And he said, well, mine was in a self-contained universe.
Yep.
And, he goes, I didn't try to make it into a big production. I didn't try to tie it into a bigger universe. He goes, it was one character and I had an arc. And that was it.
And a tone of a Batman movie is going to be hard. Like if you pick Batman as your character and you make a Batman movie, the tone of that fits Nolan's style. And the tone of Batman doesn't necessarily fit Superman. So it's like, instead of trying to take the tones of like these separate characters movie, they need to look at like the Justice League source material and what makes those work well as like a team book with all these varying different characters in there, and hire somebody who can execute that. Right. And then that person can guide the solo films around it instead of working backwards. Like Marvel got lucky that Feige was able to oversee like the Avengers, but start small with like an Iron Man and a Hulk and build from there,
He's even said, Feige says that he got lucky because Jon Favreau did a lot of the heavy lifting with Iron Man, and that kind of set the tone for everything. And they got very, very lucky in that respect. And yeah, definitely. We've talked about this, Gary, you and I before, who needs to be taking over the DC universe, and he's not going to come up. I know that Bruce Timm, there's no way he's going to do live action movies. He's the person who should be taking it over because he actually understands the source material better than anybody else.
Well, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. The problem is they can't. I don't think those two are the right guys to do the business angle. And that's unfortunately the most important part. The creative part, excuse me, you can get a lot of people to do the creative part. That would be good. Those would be my two first picks. If you could find that, if they could do like a three-headed monster where they could work just absolutely cohesively, egos would never get involved. And you'd find some guy who's just a mega producer who knows how to just shake hands and schmooze, and then hey, I don't care about the creative stuff. I'm going to leave it to you two guys. That would be just that would be a dream come true, because Bruce Timm and Paul Dini together, they can't be separate. They need to be together. Would make something better than the MCU, in my opinion. Because you don't have restrictions in DC that you have in Marvel. Marvel has a continuity restriction that DC does not have, and I think doing the one-off thing is pretty much what Marvel is going to be doing beyond Phase 4. Anyway, I think it's the right move to make. And what you do is you try to recapture Iron Man again. And Iron Man was just a one-off. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't,
Yep.
And it just happened to work. Kevin Feige learned on the job. So, but you're never going to find that. Like Kathleen Kennedy is probably the closest second, but she's nowhere near in Kevin Feige's league, period. The quality of films. Sorry, Star Wars.
I think Lasseter, what he did with Pixar, is close as well.
Yep.
You're
definitely.
Right. Like,
Definitely. I agree. Sorry, that is an omission. That was my mistake.
But no, I see what you're saying. Like, I get what you're saying, and I totally agree. Like, because I'm looking at like Warner Brothers, like directors that could come in and take over, but you don't need a director. You need a producer, like a really, really, really good producer. So like bringing in like someone like a J.J. Abrams who can do like very broad things is the closest to like a director that could do something like this. But
Spielberg,
you need to bring in not a filmmaker to do this. You need somebody who can produce, a Joe Quesada type, right? Like somebody who can do a lot of different things.
Well, Spielberg has been, I mean, he's been steering that Jurassic World thing now for the last 15, almost 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It actually has been 20 years. And it keeps rearing up its ugly head. It just had another trailer that came out.
Yep.
That one confounds me a little bit. Langley says the problem wasn't too much film continuity. Solo films aren't the answer, frankly. If CW can do a crossover on TV, they can make a shared universe. Everyone wants to copy Marvel in every way except taking their time and doing the hard work. Yes. Agreed. Yeah. And just because I talked about solo films, I think it's the answer on the very short term. But what made the MCU special was all the teaming up. It felt like you're reading the comic books, and they will eventually have to do that, because if they just go to solo films, they're going to die, I think.
The one thing I would say that's an antithesis to that statement, because I agree with that in theory, right? But I think they're trying to take their time, and their movies are just failing. Like, it's not the fact that it's a shared universe that makes BVS a bad movie. It's just a bad movie.
No, sorry, Nolan actually in those interviews, he said the other big thing about his Batman movies is he had all the time in the world. He could do 4 years in between these movies. He goes, and that was the big problem with Justice League, is that they were just trying to, they said, you gotta have it done now.
Sorry. I mean, he did two. Nolan did one really good Batman movie. Batman Begins is pretty good. Okay. It's grown on me over the years. I wasn't even in love with that movie when it first came out, but Dark Knight Rises is just, I mean, there's poor parts of it that are cool.
Yeah.
But
I agree. He had all the time in the world. It's not a horrible movie, but it's not a great movie either. It's in the middle. It's nowhere near Batman.
A super knee brace, Dennis. A super knee brace.
I know.
It's not Catwoman, right? But it's also like, if you compare it to like almost any movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's at the bottom end, right? Like, if you compare it against other good movies, because that's the thing, is DC has not given us a ton of good movies with their characters, and like that's the problem. That's the problem. Give us good movies and we'll be fine, whether they're one-offs or not one-offs or part of a large. Just like, you need to hire people and make good movies, and they're not doing that. They haven't done that.
Are you saying Steel wasn't a good movie?
We're not saying that.
The best.
We are. And you're right, John. They've taken the time. God, it felt like Batman versus Superman was in production forever from the announcement. Actually, the announcement happened when I still owned the comic store. Our first podcast was about Arrow and Batman versus Superman, and like 2 years later, we were still talking about it. Like, when is this movie gonna fucking come out? We've been bagging on it every podcast. And then I ended up liking the director's cut that's on. I know it's still a garbage movie, but I enjoy it, and it's probably just
better stuff. Yeah,
it's got Batman and Superman in it, And I want to see these characters. I think DC characters are made, especially Superman, is made for movies more than anything. He's made for spectacle.
Yeah,
so
he's made for big tentpole summertime movies, and they just need to go back to the Donner formula.
Well, it's over. I mean,
I don't even agree with that. Like, they need to come up with something interesting and new. And like, Iron Man wasn't a character that most people outside of like comic readers really even knew who he was. Like, and they took something new. They did it really cool. Like, everything looked good in that movie. The acting was spectacular. Like, they put together a cool, interesting new take on the superhero movie, and then they spun it out into a universe. DC, since The Dark Knight Returns, that's the one movie they did something interesting and new. That Joker was fucking phenomenal. If they just gave us little things like that and with any of their characters, I think we'd all be pretty happy. They just haven't, they haven't pieced together a full movie of good new stuff yet.
What they miss, and this is why sequels rarely work, what they miss is the cool factor. And that's not something you can script in. That's not something, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau for that moment caught lightning in a bottle, and Iron Man was a good movie, but it was a cool movie. Yeah. Right? There's like Suicidal Tendencies is playing in the background. It's a cool movie.
Here's the thing though, Margot Robbie, Suicide Squad was that supposed to be that. It was cool. It was fresh. It was interesting. There were some good performances. But yeah, it tried too hard. The story itself was terrible, and like they're always missing a big element that make these things fail.
Well, it's their villain. I mean, honestly, the villains in their stories really, and we've seen this in the Marvel movies.
Amanda Waller was good. She was spectacular. I think she was
the main villain. Yeah.
Yes. I thought it was great. Yeah, Suicide Squad was I will continue to say is the biggest missed opportunity of all time, because all the players were there. All right,
and the trailers were fucking incredible.
They were. The actors showed up and did their job. It was a failure of the studio, the director, to make a third act and not keep it in the same. Apparently, that Ayers was kicked off, and they brought in like a company that does music videos to work on the. So that's what probably the cool parts were. I hate to say, not saying Ayers bad. I don't think he's the greatest director in the world, but You could tell that there was like, if they would have had another year, that movie would have been DC's Guardians of the Galaxy in a weird way. It
They
meets
need to give us a Deadpool. Like DC just needs to give us like what Fox did with Deadpool, right? Like just something interesting, different. You know,
cool.
And, yeah, cool.
That was a cool movie too.
Yeah.
And a lot of, you know, like that's the God, I can go on and on and on. Star Wars, you know, the Empire was a cool movie, you know, because Han Solo was cool. Blade Runner was a cool movie, but then you do static copies that are just generic and just you can't like rubber stamp cool. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, that's what the studios look at. They're like, oh, well, this made money. Everyone wants this kind of movie, and so they rubber stamp it, make it like this movie. And you know, it's the old joke of pitching movies in Hollywood. It's like Speed on a bus.
Speed on a boat.
Exactly. Oh my God. It was like when Alice in Wonderland did good in March of that one year and did $1 billion. And all the studios saw was, let's remake an old Grimm's fairy tale and release it in March and it'll make $1 billion. You know, forget the fact that it was Tim Burton probably doing something kind of cool. I mean, I didn't love the movie, but a lot of people did. And my wife did, and it made a ton of money. So they didn't even look at, and John, you work there, you know that like there is no thought put into this crap at all. It seems like there is. All the thought is put into, you know, the miniatures, the special effects, the set designs. All the artists put tons of thought in the movies, but the people actually making decisions with the money, like they're too busy doing coke and getting blown by two people. They don't want to get into like, I got a lunch date, you know, and Harvey Weinstein.
Well, they have like they all have these algorithms that look at like how much a movie made based on like what actors were in it, who wrote the script, and then they like put it together in the algorithm and they spit out, okay, if I hire this person, this person, it should make this amount of money. And so they're actually looking at it scientifically instead of artistically, and I think that that's a big problem.
Yeah, that's definitely the Netflix side for sure. There's some guy like cracking some code going, yes, the binary code for the mixture
Fuller
for
House.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
The secret ingredient is love. Who's been messing with this thing?
Yeah.
One of my favorite Simpsons.
Okay, so to the comments real quick. Mark just said, let's not mention Jurassic World 2 here. Okay. We take requests, believe me. And Doug Johnson, my old friend, Doug Johnson, childhood friend, said Marvel has the strength of their convictions. DC has no vision. Doug needs to be on this podcast. They're constantly chasing trends and trying to play catch up. Yep. Instead of just like, hey, we are what we are. DC is silly, cheesy superheroes.
Movies. The comics is different, right? Like Marvel Comics is exactly doing what he's talking about, trying to chase trends. But yeah, on the movie side, he's
no, I agree. Yeah, it's so flipped over because DC Comics are doing great right now, and their movies suck. It's weird. And yeah, they can never fully get it together, but that's okay. I'm okay with one being bad and the other being good as long as they're not both bad at the same time.
I believe there's a great man who once said, "I am what I am, and that's all that I am."
Yes. He's a fan of spinach.
He is. So moving on here.
Yeah, wait, Langley says, yes, WB has always been reactionary with no vision of their own. Yes. They got lucky with Nolan, but they were like that with the comics forever too. And it was through desperation that they finally threw caution into the wind. And they also, you know, I'll give it to DC though. DC, the comic side anyway, I don't know about WB, listens to retailers, to fans. They had Bob Wayne was an old comic shop owner who was the retail liaison for years and years and years. They finally got rid of him, but he would go around to comic stores and get, you know, listen to the retailers, listen to the fans, and go to every retail summit. So DC's always been better than Marvel at that. Marvel's been more arrogant, but that's almost to their favor though.
Do you think there might be a thing where DC has these three characters in Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman who outside, like to the general world, are like these icons that Marvel doesn't really have. Like Marvel has Spider-Man, I would say is the closest one, but like Batman, Superman, like these are, when you ask like a little kid or a grandma, like, hey, name a superhero, it's going to be one of those two, right? And so like I feel like maybe there's this problem where they're working with these iconic characters and are having a much harder time than someone like Marvel who just needs to make Iron Man cool. Like, do you think there's something to that?
Yes. And the problem is that to most people in the world, that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are bed sheets and Funko Pop toys and T-shirts. They have no idea what the personality of these characters are. They're Mickey Mouse. Like name me a Mickey Mouse cartoon that's not Steamboat Willie or Mickey and the Beanstalk. Like
Right.
nothing. You know, like Bugs Bunny. We know Bugs Bunny cartoons. We know his personality. Mickey has no personality. He's just a face that you see when you go to Disneyland. And that's what I'm afraid Marvel's going to do with all their damn characters. But unfortunately, that's what WB's dealing with now. And they keep on wanting to go to dark Batman. They've just gone back to dark Batman. And it's, you know what? Don't go to, I remember when the Tim Burton Batman, and all they said was, we don't want to be that silly 60s Adam West Batman, which you don't want to be, but that neither of those things is the real Batman from the comic. I want to give the producers Denny O'Neil's run with Neil Adams. That's Batman. I mean, you know, that's Batman, or the Bill Finger, Bob Kane stuff,
or the Morrison run where he was mining like all that crazy stuff, right? Like, you know, the weird stuff of Batman's mythology. Like, I feel like you could.
That's way down the road. I think they need to take Batman down the basics.
You have to create the mythology first, and that's
yes. And have we not? We've seen Batman begin and begin and begin. The only time we've seen an established Batcave was in Batman versus Superman and in Batman Returns. You know, so, and we haven't seen a Robin yet. That's why I was so happy last podcast when we put that Robin picture up. I was just stoked because I'm like, we're this far into Batman and superheroes, and this is the first like real Robin, and I was just like stoked to see it. I thought it looked great. Some people didn't agree, but some comments here, guys. Langley says, yeah. Oh, I already said that one. Langley, sorry. Doug says, let's not forget the 78 Superman was essentially an indie production distributed by WB. That is a fact. As a matter of fact, you know, so was Star Wars, you know, and Close Encounters and all those movies back then were just, oh my God, Frank Zappa has a great analogy for music. The man was a visionary. But like before he died, he talked about like what happened to the music industry, and it's kind of what's happening in the movies industry. And the music industry used to be a bunch of old Jewish guys in rooms chomping on cigars going, I don't understand the music, but let's see if it sells, and throwing money at people. And that's kind of what Hollywood was up until the 80s. It was just a bunch of producers that were super old school, goes, I don't understand this Spielberg and Lucas guy, but let's see what happens, you know. And there was so much creativity and they were allowed to do what they want. But now they what Langley said, and you guys have just said, is they're trying to plan cool. I mean, like the reason the MCU worked, I'm repeating this again, but is because they never had a plan. They just and it was just a shared love of the universe. And Edgar Wright and Joss Whedon and Favreau were all involved, and it's just because they wanted to be. But then once Disney got involved, it went to shit, and that's when Kevin Feige had to take over because Disney started meddling. Don't
forget the Russo brothers, man. Those guys, I think, are the next big thing. And like, bring in the Russo brothers to DC if you can. Like, get those guys.
That was the whole point. As I'm getting to is, Russo brothers said today that they have no plans beyond Avengers 4 to be a part of this Marvel universe. And I just, you know what DC does, Langley? They mine Marvel talent. Do not be surprised if Kevin Feige jumps ship. If they offer him like, you know, because Kevin Feige is just a producer. He is not a board member. He is not an executive. And Perlmutter, who was his boss, got checked by Iger. And Iger said, leave this man alone. But that's it. If they go, hey, you want to be on the board for WB?
Disney's making things difficult for Marvel right now, internally as well. So, you know, I could see that. I could see Feige, who like Disney is real. Like, so what Disney's doing with Feige right now is they're saying, hey, these Star Wars movies are making just as much money as you guys are making, but they're way cheaper to make, like way cheaper to make. What are you guys doing? And so internally, they're making them use certain pieces of technology, use certain internal resources. And Feige's upset because he wants to make the movies the way he thinks they should be made, right? And they're actively trying to make things difficult for them to try to make them cut costs in the production side of how these movies are being made. So I could totally see Feige getting annoyed with that, and DC being like, hey, if you can make us as much money as you made on the Avengers with the Justice League, we'll cut you whatever check you want to see, right?
Yep.
Like you can do whatever you want. So I could totally see that.
I could too. And Perlmutter's going to get his revenge. I mean, like, for one, he is like second or third in charge at Disney. He came over with the Marvel deal. That dude is stinking rich on his own. He might have more money than Iger, actually, who's the CEO, but Iger has more power. Iger likes to go run for president and do photo shoots and try to help steal teams out of San Diego. I don't see him doing a lot of Disney stuff. Obviously, I don't like the man because he helped steal a team out of San Diego, or tried. But yeah, I can see Kevin has the power now, but the minute these things start like not making money, his power's gone. It's gone up and and like if Black Panther I think Black Panther is going to do very well, but I think movies post Avengers 4 are not going to do very well. I think they're going to start like doing, and what I mean by not do well is they're going to do 200 million, 180 million, 250, which is not enough. Because like you said, these movies are getting more expensive. And what did I say? We've done 3 Marvel versus Star Wars podcasts. And I said in each one, these are 2 huge properties that cost tons of money to produce. Yeah, they make lots of money because these are billion-dollar franchises that cost billions. And now they're about to spend 60 billion on a Fox, possibly.
Yeah.
Like, where's all this money coming from? And yeah, they're not. This is not sustainable. It's just not. I mean, it is now, and everybody thinks this is a big old party, but parties end, and I think Marvel will be the first one.
So here's the thing. I know. Sorry, Dennis. I don't want to take all the. But here's the thing, Gary. The reason I don't agree with that is because when you look at action movies, the superhero movie has replaced the action movie. When you look at how much money an action movie used to make and how much a superhero movie makes now, it's like ballooned. And the action money, the normal action movies, like John Wick or whatever, right? Those aren't, though that's technically anyway, the typical action movies aren't making any money anymore. And so I think what we're seeing is just a replacement of the action genre is now the superhero genre. So I don't think we're going to see the slowdown for anytime soon. I don't know. I mean, that would be my prediction of this. Is just like all we've done is take the action movie genre and switched it. So the Expendables and the Schwarzenegger movies that made so much money, or the Bruce Willis movies that used to make so much money, they're not going to make any money anymore. Now it's the superheroes. That lasted for decades. I think this is going to go on for a while.
It's going to go on for a while, but it's going to end, and it will end. The Marvel universe will end before Star Wars, unless Star Wars completely fails. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see post Han Solo. I'd say all the bets are off post Han Solo. How Star Wars does,
and post
but I disagree with you on the accent. I think John Wick is the start of a new trend. That is my opinion. I think John Wick is an excellent movie.
But John Wick is comic booky. Right?
It's comic booky, but it's 80s action. I don't think you can trot out a Schwarzenegger. But
James Bond, but cool.
Yeah,
James
like
Bond.
Kingsman, right? It's like it's all the same stuff. These are all comic book thing, just replacing it all with these comic book properties.
I'm talking superheroes though. So I think you could still, you can go kind of independent comics, but I think the movie It, I don't think that was just an outlier. I think that was the beginning of, I don't know what to name the trend at this point, but it was a very cheaply made horror movie that did gangbusters.
There's one of those every year though, man. Like
there might be, but
like Blair Witch did the same thing. It cost like $10 to make it and made like however much money.
There might be, but it also showed, and that's why I said, I don't know. I want to pin it on horror movie. I want to pin it more on rated R movie. The one thing that Hollywood has not made in a long time is adult stuff. Everything's been for freaking kids. I mean, they like, and not that I think it's a big thing, but there's no nudity in freaking film anymore. Like none at all. There's way more violence. There's freaking heads exploding, everything, but they will not show boobies anymore. I don't know why, but I think there's a resurgence of that. And maybe the pendulum will swing the other way and it'll start, be like the 90s again, which was all indie movies. When people got blockbustered out from the 80s and Pulp Fiction came around, we got a bunch of great indie movies. Trends, things change, and I don't, like I said, I don't think this is going to be done tomorrow or anything, but after phase 4 is over, or after Avengers 4, they don't even know where they're going. I mean, they've got kind of an idea, but I don't know. What do the commenters say, man?
I think that they're holding back right now. I think they're going to buy the X-Men, and it's going to be all about integrating the X-Men in.
That would that's your. And
I know we're getting to that later, but yeah.
No, and the Fantastic Four and getting Spider-Man, and that's the way you extend this thing, which I think I might have mentioned before. But Doug Johnson says, "Oh wait, here we go. I'm a little behind. I'm going to go back up here." Langley says, "Also Marvel's idea of if these movies work out, kind of thing. Yeah, they're more willing to like see if it works out. If it doesn't work out, and they can shoulder some of that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of
way
those
more risky.
Yeah.
Marvel needs to do everything in their power to keep Feige pushing Perlmutter out was a start though. The reason Feige doesn't want to touch the TV stuff, and that's and Perlmutter still tries to dig at him. I mean, it's not over between those two, believe me.
And like, how bad has the TV stuff been? Like, what Runaways is probably the first Marvel Studios TV project that we've thought was any sort of quality.
Well,
so yeah,
Agents of Shield actually started off good in the first season, and then
no, it didn't.
It didn't. Yeah, because it actually tied into the movies.
Okay, what? I don't know. I think most people look at that first season.
That was good. What was that?
The first season of Agents of Shield was actually decent because it tied into the movie.
Anyone liked it. I thought everyone was expecting better. Like,
no, it was actually it was decent. Now it's gotten, people still hang on to it though right now, and they're saying that they like it. As a matter of fact, there's an episode on right now, but.
Yeah, Gary was saying I didn't have to talk to you, Dennis, but Gary's saying the premiere this season was pretty damn good. So maybe
the premiere wasn't bad. It was fairly decent. The CGI was a bit dodgy, but it's a TV show. It's better than the CW CGI.
I don't know. For me, I feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a show where most people were very excited because it was like Joss Whedon coming back to TV or it was like Whedon coming back to TV with his family running the show. And it was like in the Marvel universe. And then people saw it and they were like, meh, it's okay. And then, so I don't know. I just feel like for me, I'll make this about my opinion and not so much speak for anybody else out there. For me, Runaway, like they've released a lot of TV and all of it has been really underwhelming for me personally until we got to Runaways, which I think is really, really high quality. So as far as like if you're comparing Feige's track record with the movies and Perlmutter working with the TV properties, it's hands down Feige. Like, why would anyone listen to Perlmutter against Feige at this point in any organization? It sounds crazy to me.
All the stuff that I see online, different websites that I go to, no one talks, I hate to say this, but no one talks about Runaways. They talk about the Netflix properties. They do talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a lot of people talk about it still. Believe it or not, there are still a lot of fans of it. I'm not one of them.
It's just 'cause it's on a major network. And John and I have talked about Runaways not getting through. Just because people aren't talking about it, they're missing out. They're missing out on a good TV show. If anybody comes at me that they don't like the Runaways, but they say they like the Flash, then I don't understand your taste at all, because they're the same. I mean, it's Runaways is sophisticated CW, but a little darker. I mean, that's what it is, and a lot less talking about feelings in hallways. Let's get to a couple of comments here. All right, so. Langley says, you really think so? I think it's going to take at least 3 flops in a row for Marvel to teeter out. Agreed. Maybe more. Yep. Just like the Westerns, people get fatigued when most of the films start to suck. Yeah, once if they keep doing like Thor type of stuff, I mean, then now you're talking. If you like really go out there and change, it did feel like they were getting into like the rut of the formula, which but they pleasantly surprised me with Thor. So I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. Langley says the Blumhouse model of cheap films that do very well. Yep. Which is what was the name of that the horror movies from the early 70s that Christopher Lee was in?
You mean the Hammer films?
The Hammer films, thank you. So they're the modern Hammer films. Yeah. Hollywood was built on the backs of low budget genre fare like film noir, crime sagas, and B films. Exactly, Doug. I kind of wanted to. Doug mentioned back here with what here? I'm losing.
Don't forget the big Bible epics too.
Yeah,
the 50s and the 60s.
Why did you? I just lost. Okay, Doug, you mentioned something about Logan. There it is. Right there it is. Logan proved that a great comic book film could be made on a smaller budget. It's not just good comic book flick, but a great film, period. Agreed. It's the best picture this year. Imagine how many smaller movies be made on a Justice League budget. Agreed. And you can do that with so many comic book movies. And the next topic, I'm actually going to remind me to bring up Logan again, because I think Logan is the reason our next topic is being made. What is our next topic?
Well, speaking of Pulp Fiction that you mentioned a little while ago, Quentin Tarantino is going to be directing the next Star Trek movie, and it's going to be R-rated. And the Revenant's Mark L. Smith is the frontrunner to be the writer for that movie.
Wait, they're not having Quentin write it?
No, Quentin Tarantino is not writing it. Doesn't mean he's not going to change it, because it's Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, they'll fire that writer ASAP.
Yeah.
I thought Quentin was going to write it and somebody else was going to direct it. See, that would be, I could handle that. Cause one of my favorite all time movies is written by him, but directed by Tony Scott.
Yeah.
True Romance. And awesome. I think that's where he's the best. And Natural Born Killers. I love Natural Born Killers.
And From Dusk Till Dawn, which was written by him and directed by
Robert Rodriguez. When he's not directing, he's spot on, but, and he's a good director too. He just needs an editor.
He needs an editor that can just say no to him. No, you can't have that in.
I don't, guys, I'll defer to you. Quentin Tarantino doing Star Trek. So I guess he's just a producer.
No, he's the director of it.
So he met with the writer's room with Mark L. Smith, Lindsay Beer, Drew Pearce, and Megan Amram, and they kicked around the idea of one of them getting the official writer credit, and the front runner is Smith, who wrote The Revenant. So it could be any of them, but Tarantino will be. It's going to be a writer's room situation.
And who's directing it?
Tarantino.
Really? Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think of that?
I don't think. I think he's going to end up writing it. Tell you the truth, and then I've given up on Star Trek at this point in time, honestly, and this is just kind of like the nail in the coffin for me on this, because I just keep seeing a whole bunch of jokes. We know we're going to see Samuel Jackson at some point screaming, get these motherfucking Klingons off my motherfucking ship, and it's gone at this point.
John, what do you think of this move?
I mean, I agree with Dennis, maybe not for the same reasons. I haven't. Tarantino is one of those directors that I've enjoyed some of his movies, but it's just gotten a little old for me. I just don't.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown a vast ability to direct to write lots of different types of characters. So although the movies are different from one another, the characters within the movies all seem similar or based on one another, kind of like you're saying with the Samuel, the one-liners from Samuel L. Jackson appearing in every single one of these. But in theory, right, the idea of a rated R Star Trek with an indie director sounds like something interesting. They started to go that way with Simon Pegg, right? Directing a Star Trek movie was interesting, but I don't know. I'm not a big Tarantino fan personally. The Tarantino fans might enjoy it. I just don't know what this movie looks like. Maybe he'll prove that he can do something different, right? So I guess I have to keep my mind open, but I've never seen it, so it's hard to imagine it. I don't know. I think it's a terrible, weird combination of things.
I think, okay, if it's a one-off with not the Kirk crew or anything, like it's a completely different ship, a completely different story, sure, that's weird enough that I'm there. I'll be there because that's weird. But if it's this crew, if it's like Star Trek 4 from Abrams universe, and they're gonna pillage something from the original series and stay in the Kelvin timeline, I mean, I'll still go because of the weird factor, but it's gonna be terrible. I could be wrong, but
So
I don't
Doug
think it'll
says,
get made.
Doug says Tarantino has enough respect for film history that his take on Star Trek could be respectful.
He
I
doesn't.
can't imagine him deconstructing it and making it a Tarantino movie. It'll have his stamp. I think Tarantino actually has too much respect for film history. That
No, he doesn't. He bites a lot off of film history and
Right.
remakes it for his own, and
Right.
and then doesn't give it credit. So I don't think he respects it. I think he just uses it, but sometimes he overuses
Some people
it.
can interpret that as paying homage.
Yeah, it's like anyway, yeah, whatever you want to say about how he treats it, he's studied film history, and you can see the impact of that in his movies. And so for me, I think maybe it could work, but I also think that, like, I don't need the references that he usually draws on to then influence a Star Trek story necessarily. Like, I don't know, he hasn't proven to me that his what he enjoys about the history of film and the movies that he respects really have any bearing on like a good Star Trek story. I don't know. Like, have you guys ever seen have you ever watched a Tarantino movie and been like, wow, I'd love to see his sci-fi movie?
No,
I haven't.
but it could work. I mean, listen, it'll be more respectful than Fuller's version. That's for sure.
Like the lower bar. I mean, like, that's the bar.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to like.
I mean, why the hell not at this point? So I would check it out, but I don't know. I think Star Trek is just, as a one-off, that's fine. But let's talk about the future of Star Trek as serialized storytelling. I think it's in danger.
Oh, yeah.
The CB, like we talked about this a lot. CBS renewed Star Trek Discovery because they had to save face. There's no way that they did that. There was a bunch of positive reviews, but if you go out in the real world and see what people thought, I mean, come on, let's be real.
It's funny because we had a lot of people like start to come around on it, and then I know a lot of people who really liked it, who like, we were kind of, I think, an anomaly where we are, it varied week to week if it was better or worse, right? But at no point where we were like, this is the Star Trek I've been looking for forever. No. And you had a lot of people start off high and get really low by the end, and a lot of people start off really low and get like higher by the end. And to me, it was always kind of this weird, like, hey, some moments are good and some moments are bad, but this is not the Star Trek I was.
You sure they weren't getting higher because they were taking some illicit substances while
potentially? I mean, look.
Well, yeah, but we don't judge that. Listen, there was parts of it that I
drive too long and react poorly.
There was parts I liked. And because I kept watching it, we're going to keep covering it. It could totally turn around. I mean, I'm not saying it won't, because they're going to have hopefully they'll get rid of Akiva Goldsmith for one, and just get rid of that dude, please. And I think he's everything that's wrong with it. And then you have a chance. And I think them being in their mirror universe, they have a chance to fix a lot of stuff and right the ship. So I think that's a fair assessment of what was probably mostly a disappointing for most Star Trek, not all, but for most Star Trek fans. I was, maybe, like I said last podcast, it might have been Stockholm Syndrome or something like that. I was starting to like it because I was watching it a little more. But then I watched a video by Dieter von Dubkock, who kind of pointed out, and I felt kind of dumb for liking it after I watched this video. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I still like parts of it. And I'll post a link. I was supposed to do that in the last part. I'll post a link to Dieter von Dubkock's video. It's freaking genius. I'm like, it's the funniest guy. It's a guy dressed as Dr. Doom, dictator kind of thing, talking to a puppet Cthulhu with a fez on, ripping Star Trek Discovery. So I love YouTube. It's a great place, man.
So I've got a question for both of you guys. By the end, like, until Discovery, we had kind of had Star Trek do the same thing over and over again, right? Like it always felt Star Trek-y. It was like a group of people on the bridge of a ship exploring space or getting into fights or whatever it was, right? But like Star Trek didn't really evolve in its format for a very, very long time. And now all of a sudden we've got Discovery and then this supposed Tarantino Trek. What do you think of like them at a certain point being like, well, we want to like breathe some new life into Star Trek? It seems like a decent idea. I don't personally love the direction Fuller or a potential Tarantino might take it. Like, would you guys rather just see like the typical format done well, or would you like the chances
No,
there?
I want it brought forward. That's the whole Logan thing is, I think the Quentin Tarantino, again, this is pure speculation, but this is how things roll in Hollywood. Like the Alice in Wonderland reference I gave. Somebody said, "Hey kid, that Logan movie did pretty good. It was rated R. It was kind of edgy. Let's get Quentin Tarantino to do a Star Trek rated R movie." And they're like, "Wait a minute, Star Trek's not superheroes. It doesn't matter. It's all the same."
Well,
Yeah,
the Deadpool movie was a rated R
Release it
movie.
in
It did
March.
well.
Make it rated R or February, and have the nerds go see it. They'll love it. Yeah, kid. That's the way I think it got made. And Quentin Tarantino's all, really? Because J.J. Abrams brought it up to him. Or maybe J.J. Abrams is just like, please take this thing from me. I've got.
Well, actually, I heard Quentin Tarantino
going
pitched it as a
They're
rated
actually
R.
asking me to finish something.
J.J. Abrams was like, "Oh God, people are ripping me for Star Trek again. How can I make mine look better in comparison? Oh yeah, Tarantino, give it to him. Yeah, he'll fuck it up so bad that people will be begging me to come back to this thing." It's probably what happened.
It's going to be 5 hours long.
Yeah, and it's two scenes, just two scenes.
It's Kirk and Spock yelling at each other, and they'll be it'll be some kind of under siege thing. So they'll be surrounded. It'll be the Tholian Web Part 2.
They'll just be sitting on the bridge,
and
or
Kirk
in a
will just be going fuck instead of I don't know if you saw the Tholian Web. Doug knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they'll be sitting in a shuttlecraft by themselves having a conversation for 5 hours.
Yeah, but Samuel L. Jackson will be in it.
Yes, he will. He'll be screaming at him on the monitor.
Let's get to some comments here, man. Are we caught up on the comments, John? Or
we got some more.
David Cronenberg should directed Indiana Jones film. Hey, weren't you thinking about David Lynch's Return of the Revenge of the Jedi there, Doug? That's where I'm going with this. Like they really wanted Lynch to direct Return of the Jedi when it was called Revenge of the Jedi. Cronenberg's Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones goes full psycho and starts skinning people. The idol's under her skin. Oh my God. I'm sick of people ragging on Trek fans that want the essence of Star Trek intact. Making Trek rated R is not how you update things. No, yeah, making stuff dark is not how you can. Okay, sophisticated doesn't mean saying the F word. Right. Actually, it's not sophisticated. You know what's sophisticated? The Expanse. I know I say it all the time.
Yes.
That is where Star Trek can go.
Agreed.
You have people, you know what? Have the Federation breaking down. That would be awesome. Like it's been around too long and there's like factions within factions, like a religion has popped up somewhere. Go Game of Thrones a little bit. Have some, or go back to the Maquis, which they never did well in Voyager, and make them full on like the Belters. Make them terrorists, but like with a reason, like they're being exploited or something like that. Do something like that.
No, what they should do is do a full-on, version of the Federation, like going through and trying to debate policy for 5 hours, and just nothing but policy debates.
It's the West Wing,
like C-SPAN.
A dictator takes over the Federation. Like have somebody come in and some guy, just really influential guy, comes in and smooth talks his way and takes over and makes it a galactic empire.
They can have a CGI character that actually puts him into power. That's kind of like a really kind of, he talks kind of funny, like we're gonna, do this kind of stuff. And then
have Jar Jar put Sarek as there you go.
And then we have Samuel Jackson come in and say, no, this guy needs to die, and he gets his hands cut off and thrown out a window.
Yeah. That still might be better than some of the stuff I've seen.
It's so funny, Gary, because I love that you said like sophistication is an interesting thing, right? Because it can mean a lot of stuff. Like you don't have to, it doesn't have to be Legion, right? Like The Expanse, Runaways, Ash vs. Evil Dead in its way is like a sophisticated take on that genre. And so I don't know. I feel like that's just where they have to just define what a sophisticated Star Trek show is going to be and still be entertaining and essentially Trek and give us that. And I don't trust Tarantino.
Langley brought it up in a comment. I can't remember what episode it was. And this is what made me think of the whole cool factor I was talking before, is like Star Trek is just never recaptured what the original series was, which was cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It got, I mean, Star Trek Next Generation was, I mean, we love it. It's great, but it's not cool. It is very,
and it doesn't hold up.
Very generic, and not generic, but it's very static.
It was Hollywood. It was very Hollywood.
Oh God, it's yeah. Well, it's also how they made shows in the 90s. That's just kind of how they did it. It needs to get its moxie back, and Swagger. I think J.J. Abrams tried to do that. I gave him A for effort, but I don't think he understands what cool is. I think cool is something you're shown. It's something you're shown, but if you're not cool, you can't show cool. That's and there's a lot of cool film directors, and maybe that's what they're thinking. Quentin Tarantino's cool. He could make one, I don't know. There's other stuff. It needs to get that back. It would have been easier for Star Trek to just go into the future past Next Generation and make a show and then deal with your differences. And you would have had very few people complaining.
Mark said D Space Nine was dark and the best Star Trek, which
Absolutely.
is interesting. But it was also essentially, like at its core, still within the Star Trek genre, model. It didn't like break everything apart. It didn't deconstruct it. It just did a dark Star Trek. And I think that, I think that's a way that they could definitely take this thing. But I agree with you too, Gary. Like, Kirk was a cool character, and both Pine and Shatner were able to bring that coolness to the movies and shows that they were in. It was funny just because like J.J. Abrams, it was almost too actiony. Like if they had kept it like the Star Trek, like a Star Trek, and not made it like a Star Wars movie, and had those versions of those characters, I think people would have probably liked it a lot more. I think it had that swagger. It needs swag. You need some swagger.
Yeah, Doug says it. There was still optimism in DS9. Yeah. And optimism is what The Expanse had, the book series. That's just that's my teaser for the newest book. Had. With Star Trek, I don't know where they're going to go with that. I just lost my train of thought too. Damn it. I was going to say something really important that
I got derailed.
I got derailed.
I hope that the Tarantino version just never gets made, honestly. I hope that that's like the Nick Cage Superman that never was. I hope that that's what we get from it, because I don't want to.
Man, that Nick Cage Superman thing is like herpes. It keeps popping back up every couple of years. It really it needs to die.
The herp.
It did die. Yeah, they made a whole documentary on him showing up for one day in a suit. I mean, that's pretty much all it was. I mean, there was nothing to it at all. So Star Trek will figure. It's too big of a franchise, but that's another one that maybe Paramount. Well, Paramount doesn't deserve it. And now it's in two different people's hands, and there's two different versions of it. So tell me Hollywood can't screw things up 7 ways to Sunday, and it's just best when we are. I tell you right now, we're on the verge of not a collapse, but of a swing back to the indie stuff. We are, because stuff, for one, there's fewer and fewer companies, and next week there might be one fewer. And things are getting way more expensive. There's a Hollywood bubble that's about to burst, and that's not just Christ. What did Justice League cost? Like $500 million, and then that's not counting marketing money.
$600 million. Yes.
Yeah.
That's they don't need to do that. They just, I mean, like Logan was, like Doug said, it was made for nothing, and Deadpool was made for nothing. The original Spider-Man was, remember Paramount put, Captain America, Iron Man, and the original Spider-Man were all put at $70 million. You can't go over that budget, period.
Actually, I take that back. It was $250 million. Then with all the budgeting and everything, they needed to make,
after marketing and everything, it was $600 billion. That's the word on the street, or 600 million. 600 million. That was the word on the street. So Yeah, that's and I guess leading into that, we can talk about the news that everybody's been talking about all week. One guy for ComboCast puts about 6. ComboCast 2 puts about 6 videos a day out on this subject. So I don't know what the hell we could add to it, but
My Little Pony.
yeah, you got the topics, Dennis.
Oh, okay. I think we were talking about My Little Pony. No, this is about Disney buying Fox. Well, actually, not Fox itself, but parts of Fox, 21st Century Fox to be in particular there. And this is essentially their movie franchises and things like, little things like X-Men and Fantastic Four, things they're missing from their Marvel universe. So yeah, this is a deal that's going on right now. It's in the talks, and it's not just Fox, but there's also another buyer as well, and that is Paramount. And also, well, Verizon and Sony are also talking about this as well. But Fox is the front runner right now, and I guess talks are getting serious.
Fox? You mean no? Disney's the front.
Disney's the first front runner to buy.
Disney's the front runner, and it's
what is the price tag?
$60 billion.
I can't believe Amazon and Netflix aren't in the bidding. That's especially Amazon.
Yeah, well,
that's surprising.
Part of this deal is also the 20% stake in Hulu.
Oh,
and yeah, and that is something that Disney has a share in. They have 20%, and Comcast, excuse me, Comcast was the other player in this, and they also have 20%. So whoever gets Fox here gets the commanding share of Hulu. And Disney, you got to remember, was building their streaming service. If they get this, they don't have to build that streaming service anymore because they already have Hulu.
Well, wouldn't they want total control of that? They wouldn't want to share it with. I mean, there still would be.
They still play nice with others. I mean,
they do, but like that person would get even a percentage of them replaying Star Wars. I don't think they'd be willing to share with that. I don't know, John. I mean, John probably can't say shit, so we want to ask John.
Let's just say I don't see either Hulu or the streaming service being affected by this deal, aside from the fact that they would have more properties to put content out with and have appear on both Hulu and the streaming case. Yeah. So this is more about the content, right? Like Netflix and Amazon aren't in the business because they're fine with licensing stuff that everyone else produces, and they're fine on making deals to produce content that other people own, right? So Netflix and Amazon don't need to pay $60 billion. They can just license like with Runaways, they can just license a show that Marvel doesn't want to put out that they produce, or New Warriors or something like that, right? So, I don't think that this really would impact them. This is really smart for Disney because they just get a bunch of other things that they don't need a license, that they can make stuff out of. They can integrate, the X-Men and Fantastic Four back into the Marvel universe. They would just own this stuff. So it makes just more sense for somebody like Disney to buy this.
I, for one, I'm looking forward to the Disneyfication of Predator and the Disneyfication of Alien.
But that's the thing, is like Disney doesn't need to create it. They can just license it out. That's the point. Like Disney would own it. So if Disney doesn't want to make a Predator movie because they don't want it to clash with their image, they can then just charge some other production company who wants to make a Predator movie. It's smart.
It's not like Fox is going to go away either. It's Disney owns Fox. You're going to still see the 20th Century Fox stuff, and that's a whole other. That's where they can make their rated R movies under Fox.
There you go.
So that answers your question. The problem is, and the question I'm going to put to the group is, I think Fox was actually turning it around with the X-Men in a very good way. I think that. Do you think there's a real possibility Disney could screw this up? Because we'll get in with their casting, but my fear is Disney's going to turn this into YA freeform drivel. I'll just get right to it. That's my fear with Disney getting hold of this, especially with the TV side. That New Warriors show, how's that running? I heard it tested so well that they couldn't put it on their own network, and they're shopping around and nobody wants it, but it tested really well.
Netflix is going to end up with it. I think the rumor right now is Netflix is going to end up with it.
Well, I know doesn't fit. Oh, that doesn't fit with their stuff.
The thing is, it was supposed to be a vehicle mainly to get Squirrel Girl her own
Right.
series because Squirrel Girl's really hot right now, and that's pretty much all it was.
Not really. Not anymore. She had her pan is flashed. The flash in the pan is flashed.
Says the 48-year-old guy. I know, but it's I don't know.
Says a 48-year-old guy who owned a comic store for 10 years, knows a little bit about trends, and has been watching videos on people hating on Squirrel Girl for the last year. So yeah, her pan is flashed. It's done. if they make her super hot like she is in the GLA and not the whatever version they have going in the comics right now that sells about 4,000 to 5,000 copies. If they go back to the GLA version, and that girl is not Verizon.
Yeah, the Verizon, the AT&T
she was
girl.
in. She played a satanic dominatrix in Silicon Valley, which was awesome. Highly recommend that. If they just do surrounded about her, she's great. I'd even watch it. But if they try to make the comic book version that somebody is alluding is really hot right now, no.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but anyway, yeah. So this is something that's going through right now, and kind of a big deal.
So I don't think that it will be quick enough to impact Legion or the. So I think where you're going in that, Gary, is that like they're doing well with the Gifted and Legion right now with X-Men on TV. The movies had kind of started to turn around for a while, even though when Bryan Singer came back, they kind of fell back off. So I feel like what you're saying is true. They're starting to catch some momentum with these TV shows.
It's not going to touch the TV though, because they can't touch the TV because otherwise they'd have a monopoly. They have ABC already.
Yeah, but that's still the problem is Fox is controlling the whole cinematic universe. Disney can tell Fox to put the kibosh on those TV shows like once their run is up. I don't know if they've now Fox would have to greenlight a season 2. Like they can't cancel anything out of production. So as long as Fox greenlights these existing shows, they can be around, but they can't add anything to it and nothing.
Also, that's not exactly true. They can touch the TV stuff. They can't touch the news or sports stuff. So the actual like properties that they put on TV and movies and the actual networks, they will have some sort of control over. But my point is that I don't think they're going to want to.
I heard something different. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe like something's been updated since I last read on it. But from what I understood, they were able to get TV and movie content. They were able to own those. They were able to operate in that market as long as they didn't touch news and sports because of ESPN and then the
Fox News.
The Fox News. That's why that they weren't going to. Anyway, so I might be wrong. But that said, even if they did, I don't think that it's going to really impact the TV in the short term. I think that Disney doesn't have any reason to derail what's going on with the Gifted or Legion. If anything, they have a reason to want it to succeed. So I could see them letting it just play out how it's going to play out and then bring those characters into their bubble and then start marketing those. Like, I think those will be things that they'll just let play out and see how, I mean, the Gifted's are already on the bubble, right? So I don't see that lasting. Maybe it will, but I don't see that lasting like a decade, right? Yeah. So that's something I could see them just being like, okay, give them 5 seasons. Who cares? Like, we're going to do what we want with the X-Men within the Marvel universe. And however the Gifted works within that, it'll be its own thing. Same thing with Legion. I think Legion will probably last a little bit longer, but I don't think it's going to impact what they're doing, right? They're going to bring in the big X-Men, the movie X-Men into their universe.
What makes the Gifted and Legion more interesting is their connection to, like what Langley said earlier, is their connection to, even loosely, to the X-Men universe and the Fox end. Now, do you think Disney is going to try to connect the Fox stuff or just cut it dead and restart their own stuff?
I think they're going to let it be a sidecar. Just like how right now they're letting like the Marvel Netflix stuff be its own thing and the Runaways be its own thing and the Marvel Cinematic Universe be its own thing with a couple ABC tie-ins. I think they're going to look at the Fox X-Men stuff as its own thing, just like all the other things. Huh. So I see them bringing in like, hey, now we can have Wolverine in our movies and blah, 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 blah. We can make our new X-Men movies. I think they're thinking of that sort of stuff rather than like, oh, we need to figure out some way to integrate the Gifted. So I think it's just going to be its own side stuff.
And if the rumor is true about what's going to happen with the Infinity Gauntlet, where pretty much everything kind of gets, we know that there spoilers
Reality
involved
could
for
be
those of you, spoilers involved for those of you who are watching. You have a chance to turn back. Supposedly time travel is involved or alternate universes. So take your pick on that. And there may be a reboot of the entire Marvel universe as a result.
Langley says, I think they will let it sit until phase 4 starts. Phase 4 will probably be the first thing they integrate. And that's where I'm sitting with it too.
Agreed.
And if one of these goes into that, I think they'll just let it, like, there's no reason they need to integrate it unless they want to use Polaris in something. Right. Which, so I just don't see it being like a thing that they're going to have to figure out. And as far as like Deadpool is concerned, I don't see Deadpool. I could totally see them bringing Deadpool into the MCU as like a cameo in something, like once they get that, but like Disneyfying it, right? And I think that's where the bigger worry is they'll let the Deadpool movie play under the Fox branding. If they make 5 more of them over the next 15 years, right? That'll just be under whatever the Fox banner is, or whatever banner, rated R banner Disney ends up creating. Remember, they owned more mature banners throughout the years. So I feel like they can let that sit and then, bring Deadpool in for funny little things into the MCU whenever they want, and just not have it be as graphic, and have him try to play ball within the rated PG-13 landscape for 10 minutes in a movie. So I can just see them being nuanced in the way they integrate the stuff. And I'm more excited that we're going to get, an Iceman or a Gambit or a Archangel or whatever these characters that, Wolverine or Storm or whatever, integrated into like an Avengers story or like a Guardians of the Galaxy story, right? Kitty Pryde dating Star-Lord and pissing Gamora off is a thing that can happen now. Iron Man showing up in space. I just think there's all this cool stuff you can do.
Well, I don't think Iron Man's going to show up. Unless they
maybe he might be gone,
and that'll be a question for later. Let's get some comments here. We'll start off with Doug alluding to that. John McClane Avengers Star Wars crossover. Hell yeah! One of our friends posted on Facebook today, is John McClane, or is Ridley a Disney princess now and John McClane a Disney prince? Which No, I hope not. Okay, so Langley, Disney is trying to get the context of streaming. Disney is trying to get more content for their streaming channel, says Langley. I think Feig wouldn't let it happen. He really wants all of Marvel under one roof. Also, Deadpool can stay the way he is, frankly, but X-Men proper stuff can reboot like they should have done. Exactly. I would just reboot it around Deadpool, because the Deadpool, that was the perfect Colossus, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead everything about that movie was great. My biggest fear is that it's what's the best movie I could equate it to? Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like Deadpool is Jack Sparrow, like everybody freaking loved him. Didn't Johnny Depp get nominated for an Academy Award or a Golden Globe that year? I'm pretty sure one of those. Yeah. Yes, a Golden Globe for Best Actor. People freaking Captain America just fell down. People loved
a sign.
People loved him, but then it just went on too damn long. The second movie, some people loved it, some people didn't. And now I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to Deadpool, but it could. So, just enjoy the first Deadpool movie. What it is perfection. That is because Fox had zero to do with it. They're like, go do this little thing, just make us money, and they did. Disney is too savvy to let profit from Deadpool go just because of an R rating. And you're right. And Disney, the Disney not doing R-rated stuff, I think that's silly. They've done R-rated stuff in the past. I remember, what was it?
Touchstone Pictures.
Touchstone Pictures, and it was Ruthless People and Down and Out Beverly Hills was their first.
I was going to say Touchstone 2, but then I thought of like the other stuff that Touchstone did that was very not rated R, and I was like, am I thinking of the wrong label right now? So I'm happy that it is, because I was going to go there, and I was like, wait, no, it wasn't Touchstone like Home Alone. Anyway,
There's two of them. There's
Yeah,
two.
it was two great movies, by the way. Down and Out Beverly Hills and Ruthless People. And they did some more too. I'm not.
Oh, they did a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, and Touchstone Pictures was great, and Touchstone Entertainment is still around. And they also have Buena Vista. Actually, when you go look at any Disney movie, what's it called? A Buena Vista film. Good view. I think they will let sit until phase 4. F4 will probably be the first thing they integrate. Hell yeah. And you know what, John, with all apologies, I know you love the X-Men and that's cool. I'm looking forward to the Fantastic Four.
Me too.
No, that's fair.
I want to see them done right. I'm
Dude,
so
a
excited
Pixar
about that.
Fantastic Four, or like, just Bird doing a Fantastic Four movie would be fucking phenomenal.
You know what I tell you, like Dennis and I, and John, I think you've been in the conversation. We talk about like who'd be a good Superman director, a guy to run your DCEU. Brad freaking Bird.
Brad Bird. Yeah.
Brad
agreed.
Bird. He's out there. Get him. Langley, please God, no. Deadpool is Jack Sparrow. No, I just meant to equate it to the popularity of Pirates of the Caribbean based around Jack Sparrow. And people like Jack Sparrow at one time was a very cool character that everybody loved. Everybody was cosplaying him and then like he turned into angry junk, Amber Heard hurling stuff at Johnny Depp. Not saying she didn't provoke him prior to the video. I'm just saying that's what we saw. No Weinstein, says John Reed. That's funny. Miramax, yes. Miramax is dead. Weinstein is dead. There's a doc on Hulu about Corman Fantastic Four. There is?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to watch that immediately. Bye. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, he's Langley says fantastic. I will watch that. I have that movie. I have a really good copy of it too. I managed to get a pretty good copy of it back in the 90s at a Comic-Con. I thought, oh man. So with the X-Men, you think it's going to be a sidecar for a while. They're
just
not
the Gifted and Legion. I think that they will integrate some of it, but the stuff that's already ongoing, I think they'll let aside from the movies, I think they'll let play out, like the stuff that people have received well, especially Legion. I mean, Legion is such a niche idea and executed at such a high level, and there are so many like really big fans of it. I don't see Legion changing or going anywhere. That's going to sit there on FX until people aren't interested anymore. The Gifted, it's on the bubble anyway, so I feel like they're going to be like, give it a couple more seasons, whatever. We don't need to do anything with that. And if we want Polaris, she'll be there in 3 years. So I think that they'll be able to like just break down everything from the movies. They'll just shut down the Singerverse from the movies and integrate it into the MCU, all those characters.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Now, Dennis, what do you think they're going to do with the X-Men? What's your opinion on it?
I kind of agree with John on that. It's what I would like to see them do.
Well, hold on, wait. Say that again. This is a
I said I kind of.
I'm getting the timestamp on this. Hold on,
remember,
everybody.
I said kind of.
9/26.
I didn't say it completely.
I'm gifting that. I'm gifting it right now.
December 9th. Dennis kind of agreed with John.
But what I'd really like to see them do is I'd like to see them just reboot that entire X-Men universe, tell you the truth, and just do it right from the start. Now that Singer is pretty much done and out, we can actually release his stranglehold that he's had on it for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And do it right for a change. I mean, I know Simon Kinberg is doing his version of the Dark Phoenix, which is, it looks horrible, quite frankly. Age of Apocalypse, that's all I'm going to say.
Sophie Turner can't act.
She can't.
I'm sorry.
No.
She can't. She's really good at Game of
She's
Thrones.
far from the
redhead
part of all
She
this.
couldn't even decide on an American accent in that movie. I mean, and it's not her fault. She's young, and it was like the first big thing she did, and of course she's gonna say yes. And they probably coached her as, probably in a couple of years she'll be fantastic. I don't mean to base on her or anything. She's really good in Game of Thrones, but
the first thing they should do is do a live action episode to episode remake of the 90s cartoon. Like, that is the first thing that they should do when they get this. Throw it on a streaming service or whatever, but just like remake the cartoon with the same characters, in live action, and I think you'll get a lot of fans very happy about that.
Yeah, I just want to see it be rebooted and done right. That's all.
Yeah.
And done right means not going full YA with it. It's so tempting with X-Men. It is so tempting, but even the people who are in the YA who love the X-Men, that's not why they love the X-Men.
Right.
Okay, the X-Men,
that's what Gen X is for.
Is for everybody. It's the one comic that's for everybody. I mean, I picked up the X-Men. It was never my favorite. I was actually just a Wolverine guy. I love John Byrne. I love John Byrne. That's the reason I read the X-Men and got into the X-Men. I love everything about John Byrne, and his Fantastic Four run is awesome. And but when it got into the late 90s and Apocalypse stuff, I was out. Like, I stopped reading it. And the only reason I picked it up again is because I owned a comic store and I had to read it. So I mean, but then Morrison stuff was there, and there was some really good stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wouldn't be, if they make some changes to characters, it won't bother me nearly as much as if they change like an Iron Man or something like that. Now, it'd be opposite with John, I'm sure, if they like totally F with a character that was great. Now, there's certain characters I love that I don't want to see screwed with, like Nightcrawler, but that being said, I don't know, like, give me guys, have you thought about, like, who would you like to see? I know, John, you don't want to see Wolverine at all. You think?
No, well, so okay, here's the thing. I would love to see Wolverine like show up. Okay. If we're talking about movies, I think Wolverine should be the centerpiece, right? Like, I think Spider-Man and Wolverine joining the Avengers, like the integration of Fox into the MCU, I think Wolverine's the centerpiece of that integration, right? But if I'm planning my X-Men TV show, I don't want Wolverine I wouldn't put Storm, I wouldn't put Wolverine, I wouldn't put Jean Grey, and I wouldn't put Cyclops in my X-Men TV show. I would take pretty much all the other big heavy hitters. Like, I like Nightcrawler in there, but I just wouldn't have that love triangle or the baggage that some of those characters bring from the movies. I wouldn't want that to be brought into my personal TV show. And I think there are other great characters that I'd rather have highlighted.
So would you start it as an established thing?
Yeah, I would have it be
okay.
The school. I would have it be like the school's already up and running. There is some history that Wolverine and Jean Grey and Cyclops were a part of, but it's like the new generation of teachers are coming up, like Iceman, Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Archangel, Psylocke, Gambit, Rogue. Those are your older characters. And then I would have like X-23, Quentin Quire, Jubilee, Blink, Monet, like a young multiple man as like your younger cast. So you'd be able to spin off into a Generation X show. Like, if you had Emma be a bad guy and then you have her reformation, I think you could launch like a side show of like Generation X for the YA audience. But my thing would be like, here's the school and this is the goings on of the Westchester Academy.
See, what I would do is I'd have two different series. If we're talking TV shows now, and I would go back and do the beginnings of the school with Professor X, Angel, Iceman, Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Beast. Those the core group, if you will. And then my other series would be James Howlett Origins, is where you start off with, and then you do a Incredible Hulk road movie, but set in the early 1900s. And then what you can do.
Wolverine Origins with Hulk in it.
No, Wolverine Origins with for Wolverine. So you have him, but in the 1900s. Yeah. And then what you do is once you're about, let's say 3 or 4 seasons into the X-Men, that's when you bring your other Wolverine, the Wolverine character, into your
smart way to do
60s and just cross them over.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think this is where another way, like, you and I read comics for different reasons, right, Dennis? And like, for me, I love the team, right? So I would never think of having like just a straight up Wolverine show, although it's a brilliant idea, right? Like, for the people who like these big marquee characters, having like a origin TV show for Wolverine is absolutely brilliant. And it's a way to have a presence, but not have him bogged down like a lighter show, or not lighter, but just like a more to me, when you add Wolverine into the X-Men, it becomes about Wolverine, and like the team dynamic gets lost.
He takes over.
Yeah,
and so that's what I wouldn't want to see happen. Same thing with Cyclops. Like I said, like there are certain characters when you put them in, they're the focus, and you have to build a show around that character. And I'd much rather see just a very, like a Game of Thrones style ensemble with X-Men.
Remember Young Indiana Jones? The way it was done. So you could do that with Wolverine and just have him, you can go through different periods of time with him in that respect. And you can have other characters, other X-Men characters or other mutants cross over into that. So you don't have to use every single, character all the time. You can actually have cameos.
Yes.
And you can also have him cameo into the X-Men thing and not be there all the time, so he can come in and out.
That's so funny you said that, Dennis, because I had a whole list of characters I'd want to be on the show for certain reasons at certain times. So like if I had Colossus, I'd want to have like an arc where Magic shows up, right? And maybe you integrate her or something. I'd love to see like Dazzler, Chamber, Cannonball, and Husk. Like
you have a whole 70s. You could do a whole 70s series.
Agreed. I agree. Langley M. Neely also said he agrees with you. He'd want to see an X-Men start with the original 5 students and build out from there. And I want to argue that just for a second because I agree with you. That was my first instinct. Iceman's my favorite character. He'd be part of that, right? I love the idea of the formation of the X-Men. My problem is that when you look at the storytelling from the source material for the original X-Men, and Bendis, I think, struggled with that when he did All New X-Men. It's very much like 50s, 60s centric.
Oh yeah.
Right. No, and I think that there's a problem. Like, I think it's hard to make that relevant and current. And
that's why you don't follow that.
Yeah.
You follow, Gary actually had an excellent idea 2 podcasts ago about doing Marvels. The X-Men, the Marvels version of X-Men.
Fucking brilliant, man. That would be brilliant.
And that'd be
a Marvels TV show, once you get all these under one banner, would be such a cool project, like a mini series. I think
there's your history, great. And then you can go from there.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick casting. So I would want to do the original 5 at some point. Like, even I don't know if an entire series or just do a special on them or something. You don't have to like dedicate an entire show to them.
A mini series.
But I definitely want them to be young, and I didn't cast them all. I only got 2, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Rose Leslie as Marvel Girl. Okay,
oh, great.
That's Egret. Okay, and Christopher Eccleston as Professor Xavier.
Oh, that would be great too. I love that.
So
I have either Emily Blunt as Jean Grey or Emma Stone.
I like Emma Stone.
I like Emma Stone too. I think she'd be very good.
I also have Mark Strong as Professor X.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I have Zac Efron as Iceman.
Oh, that's really good.
And then for Cyclops, I either have Jai Courtney or Scott Eastwood.
Oh, I like both of those. Scott Eastwood's good.
And then
Scott Eastwood would have been a good Robin.
Yes.
Sorry, that was a side.
Joel Egerton as Beast.
Oh, that is really good. That is really, really good. I know you're going from orc casting now, and you really like when Dennis likes something, he likes it. That's Joel Edgerton better get that restraining order ready.
And for Angel, Charlie Hunnam.
Oh God, please no. Anyone
biker Angel? That'd be awesome. There you go. Like go full on go Jason Momoa Aquaman with Angel. Make him just a badass.
Since I like people, I stick with my actors, for the most part.
Yeah, you like 7 people, and you just rotate those 7. Like Hell on Wheels, right? That's your whole Wolverine pitch was
that
was superhero Hell on Wheels, right?
Stephen Moyer is Wolverine.
No. Actually, for Magneto, Stephen Moyer is Wolverine. For Magneto, I said Anson Mount.
If you say Anson Mount, dude, you want to mount Anson. That's what you want.
I was just thinking about him, as when he was playing Black Bolt.
You were thinking about him a lot.
I don't know.
It's okay.
When I was doing this
not
list,
judging you, buddy. He's a handsome. I'm sure he's a really good person.
No, I think he'd actually play a really good evil Magneto.
I think Anson Mount would, if they gave him a chance to act, would have been. Dennis was the lead fan club of the Anson Mount as Batman. And I agree with you on that. I think he'd be a great Batman, but after I think Inhumans has hurt his career forever.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
screwed.
I think he needs to play a special needs somebody or somebody who dies of AIDS in a movie very soon to get his credibility back.
Or an ugly guy, like put on a fat. So he's got to put on weight for a role.
He's got to put on weight
skinny for another role.
Yeah.
I've got a couple more if you want me to go.
Yeah, go for it.
Keep going.
Okay. So I've got either Amber Stevens West. She's in Ghosted. She was also in 22 Jump Street. She played Ice Cube's daughter in 22 Jump Street as Storm. Or Kat Graham as Storm. She was in Vampire Diaries.
She's great. I love her. That's a good casting. She's young though.
Yeah. I also did Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Rogue.
That's great too. That's really great.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
She was in Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
She was the girl that Scott Pilgrim liked.
As Rogue?
Yeah. She's grown up quite a bit. If you see her
she's different now. Yes. She's in Fargo, right?
Yeah, she's in Fargo. Yeah. She's really
good. She was also in Sky High.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like her. I just don't see her as Rogue as a Southern Belle.
Anna Kendrick.
I'd have to think about Rogue.
Rogue's a tough one. I didn't get a lot of. I spent more time casting like who I'd want on a show and trying to get creative there. Like I only got to I put Chamber in there because I wanted Ed Westwick in the cast. Just because I'm in love with that guy. I like Chase from Runaways as Iceman. I think he's really dynamic as like the average jockey white dude. And I really want Quentin Quire. Like I feel like he's a character that deserves to be like highlighted in one of these shows. I think he's like really, really cool and different to add, but I couldn't come up with anyone that I thought would be a good Quentin Quire.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just love the idea of like this guy who just hates the like this rebel who wants to be an X-Men but hates the idea of it. I think it would be really fun to play with.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there's so many things to play with the X-Men. That's the great thing. Like that's how the MCU lasts. Now, Neely says he would like to see Storm get married to T'Challa at some point. I would also like to see Storm. I would love to see AVX. I mean, done right, done better than it was in the comics, and Storm take on Thor, and you could. That's a way you could do another proper Civil War. I mean, even though you named Captain America Civil War, you could still do the real Civil War.
Yeah,
at some point
down the road.
Mm-hmm. Especially base it around mutant registration.
Exactly.
Like superheroes side, some superheroes side with the mutants, and some superheroes don't. And then you make it that a thing. Because I've said it a million times. The biggest problem I've had with the X-Men in the Marvel Universe is Captain America would not let that stuff go down. No. He would, if he knew about it, he would not let it go down.
It's the exact same thing as
Sentinels and all that crap. He'd be the first person there fighting him. So would Spider-Man. So would so many other people. And Namor, forget it. Like why would Namor sit back and let that happen? And that's another guy who needs to come in and
yeah,
I love Namor. I think he's actually made for the movies. He works in bits and pieces in the comic book. Plus, we can get a true Illuminati. Once we get the true Illuminati going with his Doctor Strange, Professor X, Iron Man, T'Challa. Who am I missing here, Dennis? There's Namor, and there's one more. I can't remember.
Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. Good stuff. Man, there's people just falling left and right. That happens quite a bit here, actually. So
I also thought for Kitty Pryde, we get Anna Kendrick.
Yeah. Kitty Pryde's tough. Yeah, that's not bad.
It's tough. Taron Egerton, the guy from
Kingsman.
Thank you, as Nightcrawler.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I would get the guy from Mr. Robot who plays Wellick. Even though he's Swedish, I'm sure he could probably do a pretty good German accent, and he's weird. Yeah, he's like, oh my god, he could be so many things in the X-Men.
Yes.
Yeah. Rami Malek, who's going to be in that Bohemian Rhapsody movie. That dude's going to be just random thought, a huge star.
Oh yeah,
huge star. That guy's going to win Academy Awards and stuff. He is such a good actor. Everybody from that show is going to go off and do amazing things when it's over. Trust me, they're all really good. AVX, I think, is the thing they're going to move to. I think that's going to be the next thing. Now, what Avengers are we going to get? I have no idea.
And I think you're going to get a House of M in the middle of that. I agree with you, though. I think that's
that'd be great. That would be great. But you'd have to don't do it too soon. Don't pull a Watchmen. Don't do it before it's time.
Yeah, you got
take your time. Establish what mutants are. And also, don't make too many mutants. Make mutants rare. Okay, 1 in a million. That's what they got to be. Otherwise, they would just take over the planet. That's the amount of mutants that they have. That's why I was always happy with. I know some people got mad, but I loved House of M. They needed to. Joe Quesada's first thing he said is, "I have to reduce the amount of mutants because the '90s just made too many. They went too nuts with it, and there was nothing wrong with killing a bunch of them. You know."
I always like the idea, though, that that's where all humanity was going. Eventually mutants were going to take over the world, just genetically speaking. And I kind of liked that idea. And that's why House of M was so hard to get used to, was it was well, now, you've made it this magical
you thought that
sterilization.
I thought it wasn't an evolution thing at all. I just thought it was a glitch of evolution.
Oh, no, I thought it was a glitch that was supposed to take over.
Because then you got syndrome. And nobody will be special then, because we'll make everybody superheroes.
Right. That's where I thought it was supposed to be going. Anyway, that's just my interpretation of it. It was the toe, whatever, fish then mutated to walk on land, and now they're other animals, and there were still fish in the water, but there were also all these other things that turned into other things.
Well, that's just wild cards and rising stars.
Yes, exactly.
I like them being rare. I like it being rare. I like the specialness of it. I think that's why what makes superheroes appealing. I think if everybody was, it's just boring.
Yep.
Children of the Atom.
Children of the Atom. I always love that name. There's so many cool things they can do with the X-Men. I just don't know if Disney's going to do them, and I don't know. Kevin Feige will be able to play with them for a little while, so I look forward to what he does. That'll be magnificent. But I have to agree with John. I don't think they're going to do a Wolverine, just because he was done so well by Hugh Jackman. But I think the guy who would be a perfect Wolverine is unfortunately playing freaking Venom right now, and that check must have been really big. But Tom Hardy, would be perfect.
Yeah,
freaking perfect. Agreed. I mean, actually, I could see Tom Hardy playing all the X-Men, including
Gambit. Yeah,
I'd like I'll let Eddie Murphy and just have Tom Hardy play everybody.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
You know who else would be a good Wolverine? Liam Hemsworth.
Okay. I can see that actually. At first, yes, you're right. He would be good. He's too tall.
He is too tall. I mean,
that's a bit tall.
Liam Hemsworth, one of the he's too pretty. They really need to go back to making Wolverine Wolverine's an ugly little stout guy. Okay. Well, the way Derek Robertson draws him. Liam Hemsworth is like Captain America. Actually, he would be a great Captain America.
Actually, who would have been a perfect Wolverine if he wasn't already playing the Punisher?
Oh, you like him?
John Bernthal.
Yeah. Bernthal is short and stocky and kind of
ugly,
just fierce. Yeah, but he makes a better Punisher.
Yeah, he does.
But look at Liam Hemsworth. I mean, he's a better Captain America than Chris Evans, not acting wise, but looking wise. He's got a full head of hair too. Chris Hemsworth's wearing that wig now, and it's getting way more obvious as time goes on.
That's funny.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just pointing it out. Hey, Brian Smart's here. What's up, Brian? Okay, where was the last time we left off on comments? There we go. For an MCU reboot, I would like to make the F4 a secret SHIELD team in the 60s that disappeared in the negative zone and returned to present. How funny is that, Dennis?
That's what we just said. Yeah, we've said that.
That's a plot we came up with. We were chatting before a podcast, and we did the whole thing. That's awesome. We share a brain. We're like, they got trapped in the negative zone and they come back. And that's how they're going to kind of, they're kind of doing something like that with the Captain Marvel. I love Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and stuff like that. I think they should save her till afterwards. I think she should come after the Avengers. I think they should let the core Avengers shine for this last little bit, and then give it to the new people. But I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. That was a great idea, Langley. I love it, and I would watch the crap out of that. We didn't come up with the shield aspect of it, though. That's good. No. I like that. And the X-Men would start with the original 5 students, build out from there. I would too. And the thing is, you could play with that. You could do a thing with them, but then go in the future. So make it a period piece, kind of. I know those get expensive.
Into having Cyclops and Jean and Beast, who, I mean, man, we've had so much of those guys. Like as like a really big X-Men fan, I'd love to like have those guys still be part of the mythos, but like really deal with.
What are you going to launch your X-Men franchise with, though?
I think you launch it with
that haven't been used.
I think it would be Iceman, Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Archangel, Psylocke, Gambit, Rogue, Forge, and Chamber.
How about this? How about doing Wolverine in the X-Men and having?
Yeah, that'd be great too. I like that. I
think you got to have Wolverine. I think you have to have. Wolverine.
I would have X-23, Quentin, Blink, Jubilee, Monet, Gold Balls, and Multiple Man as the younger generation.
If you have Deadpool there, then you're fine.
On a TV show?
I would agree with. Oh, on a TV show? No, I'm talking about.
You're saying the franchise for the movies.
Franchise
go for it.
You gotta have an anchor.
Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey. Sure, fine.
No, a TV show you can put whatever the hell you want in there. Who cares?
Yeah. If it's the movies, I don't care. Like if it's the movies, you go with your big hitters.
You want to differentiate yourself from Fox. You put them in freaking costumes.
Yep.
Yes.
And if you can't put them in costumes, then go home. Okay, because you're not a comic book fan. That's it. Alternating through time, Logan miniseries will be really interesting. Agreeing with Dennis there. Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Mr. Fantastic. Ooh,
interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
I have David Tennant as Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
David Tennant is pretty good.
Did too much stuff, but yeah,
I had him as Professor X.
You did? That's funny. He probably looked really funny bald.
I thought about him as Nightcrawler at one point. Honestly.
He's going to be in Good Omens, by the way, a show we will be covering a lot here. If I get started, we said T'Challa, Langley, Avengers Day, FEX. There's a reason Liam is more famous for dating Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus is Storm. That's perfect. I mean, not as Rogue. That's perfect.
She's in a Marvel movie,
Is she really?
Yeah, she voices a character.
Yes, that's true.
At the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Who does she voice?
She's the robot head. I forgot the name.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Lobo. What's funny is who was saying that the comic book trailer YouTube girl was saying that Jason Momoa looks too much like Lobo as Aquaman, and I would have to agree with her.
Yeah, I always thought that.
You bastard. I'd also have Victor Von Doom's son in present day trying to atone for the father's rule, Latveria, but eventually you learn that Doom isn't a son. He is old Doom from the 60s, magics himself to stay alive. That's awesome. I love that.
Yep.
I wish we could do the Young Avengers proper.
Yes.
That speaking of young Doom and stuff, it just makes me think of if they do Kang, they can actually mess with a lot of stuff.
I could see Young Avengers coming out of Runaways somehow. Like I could definitely see that being a thing soon.
I think actually that's going to be what's next for the Avengers. I think they're just going to do Young Avengers. I think they're gonna they tried really hard to do this all new, all different in the comics, but it didn't work, and they wrote a lot on that. So
I want to see West Coast Avengers. To tell you the truth. I really would like to.
Not with a dead Iron Man.
I know. Well, you don't need to have Iron Man there. I mean,
yeah, you do. He's like the West Coast Avenger. I mean, to start it with, Yeah,
to start it with, and you can have him die, and you can have Wonder Man and Vision and Wanda, and I think it could work.
I think it would too, but I think they really want to go younger, cheaper with the actors. I agree. They want to make these things cheaper to make.
Yeah.
That's going to be Well, I mean, they already felt like all of Thor was filmed in front of a green screen. It looks to me like Infinity War, from the trailer and just from the behind the sets scenes. They were all wearing mocap suits and running around in a building. So I don't know how many. I'm kind of worried about that. Are you guys worried about that, or is it just me? Did it look a little orange? It looked a little orange to me, and I got the same vibe with the Justice League trailer. I don't know. I that's just me. I could be wrong. The movie could totally rule. So,
remember that Wonder Man series that was back in the 90s? That was really good.
I remember it. Yes, I owned it. I read it.
Yeah, I think that actually would make a really good movie, tell you the truth, and cheap movie. I think.
I always wondered why they hadn't brought Wonder Man in, but I guess they're dealing with the Wanda and Vision thing first, and then they'll bring him in at some point. But I like the way you're thinking.
Wonder Man's a good TV.
We can do that as well. Yeah,
I'm surprised they haven't put him on Agents of Shield. He'd be perfect for that show.
He would actually. Yeah.
Too bad that show sucks and they never do anything good.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, trust me.
You will be surprised by the premiere from, but if it, but don't get your hopes too up. Okay. I like the Ghost Rider stuff, but that's because I like Ghost Rider and everything.
Yes. Ghost Driver.
Yeah. Ghost Driver. Ghost Driver.
Okay, guys. It's been you guys want to wrap this? It's been a couple hours now. We've been going. Any?
No, unless any news is dropped. Does the sale finally go through since we've been talking? Or I haven't checked.
I haven't checked if there's any new news that has come out here.
There isn't any new news, but this has been fun, guys. I love these little chats. I can't wait to do these things every week. I don't know if we'll have as meaty topics. This was a pretty good week for topics. But we will be back for sure. If the sale goes down like on a weeknight and we're all together, we will go live like right after.
Remember, is this Tuesday coming up here? Because what opens up on Friday? Next Friday, there's a little movie that opens up. Yeah. So
oh my God, is that next Friday?
That is next Friday. Yes. I believe coming up Tuesday is when we're going to hear the actual verdict as to whether or not that deal has gone through.
They said Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Doug isn't there anymore. So, John, are you looking forward to Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
I am. I mean, I've been generally more positive on Star Wars than you guys because I think my expectation is just always a little bit lower on a lot of this stuff.
Lower expectation.
Yeah. and I enjoy, cheesier things than you guys do. So like, I don't think I'm looking for the same stuff from
I like some cheesy stuff.
Yeah.
I do too.
I've been generally high on Star Wars and
How can you get high on? Are you mainlining Star Wars or what's going on?
Doug, I gotta ask my friend Doug, what did you think of Force Awakens?
Yeah, because we differ here. You guys both Gary,
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, you're not a fan. This is
not a fan.
But I liked it. I thought it was great.
I was starting to get into The Last Jedi, and then I saw a supercut trailer today and I saw that they cut trenches, and I'm like, thank you. Doug hated it. Yeah, I think I knew he would. And I did. And I saw they cut trenches, and I'm like, they are really going to remake Empire Strikes Back. I'm not even kidding. They're really effing doing that. And that is such an insult to every Star Wars fan imaginable. And I'm not even going to give Star Wars fans crap anymore. If you love what you love, that's totally cool. But they are fucking you over. Okay. They really are. They really, I mean, God, there's going to be a point they beg George to come back. Just to consult or something. I think.
Yeah,
that whole trilogy they're going to do without the Skywalkers and stuff.
I don't know. Here's the thing, Gary. Force Awakens made a shit ton of money, and then Rogue One got a lot of critical acclaim. And Dennis and I have also both been watching Rebels pretty regularly, and it's a very high quality show, especially for a cartoon. So I don't know, man. I don't think it's as dire of a place as people always talk. I think there's
the movies aren't as good as. See, for me, Rebels is Star Wars. It's actually pure Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Whereas
it's a cartoon, no, it's a little kid's cartoon, and I respect the hell out of it. And it is the best thing they're putting out right now, but it's ending too. I mean, it's done. Got last season. That's it. Mm-hmm. So what's after that?
I don't know. Probably something like Rebel. I don't know. That's the thing is like we don't know, but the stuff we have now isn't as bad as everyone made. Like I think a lot of people are like really dour about the state of Star Wars.
It depends on where you go. I mean, I look all around, and I'm kind of I liked Rogue One. I did like Rogue One, but there's a great video out there by the World Class Bullshitters showing the toy aisles in his local Target and how like they're filled with Star Wars toys. Like nobody's buying them. Like nobody's buying that shit. I went to Comic-Con. Dennis says he saw a couple people. I didn't see a single Rey cosplayed. Not a single one. I saw a bunch of classic Stormtroopers, but I didn't see any modern Stormtroopers. I saw Kylo Ren. One.
I did too. Yeah.
I mean, I don't see stickers for Rey. I see stickers for Darth Vader. I see classic like the Death Star. If I was marketing, I was a marketing person for Disney, I'd be concerned. I mean, just really concerned. I mean, I'm not out there in the world totally, but I'm on YouTube a lot. And aside from what is a lot of paid content, a lot of the free content, which is what I tend to trust more, wavers towards being concerned with Star Wars. Not hating, but especially with The Last Jedi, if they kill Luke, all bets are off. That's all I'm saying. But you could be right. I mean, there could be just this whole new group. I've already seen a resurgence of the people like I call them prequel apologists, who like, oh, the prequels aren't that bad. They're actually really good.
Especially people young, like the millennials. Yeah, for sure.
And that's their movie. It's kind of like their oh my god, I'm thinking I can't remember the movie. The Goonies. It's kind of like their Goonies.
Yeah.
I never understood why people like the Goonies, because it was a kids movie when they were kids. That's why, because I saw it as a teenager and thought it was a piece of crap. But
yeah, me too. I'm with you on that one.
But the kids saw it and it was something different. So that's it's kind of like the Back to the Future crowd, which I could understand because that movie was awesome. So
right, and we were kids during that time.
Yeah. Brian Smart says all become about cheap money based on name only. It's become a product now. It's going to be strong for a while. Don't get me wrong. They're going to get a good decade out of this, but I don't know, man. I could be wrong. I hope Rian Johnson like makes something that blows me away, and then I'll just admit I was wrong and go buy a lightsaber. You know what I mean? Yep. So, and that could happen. And that's what Neely says. Oh, Rian Johnson actually injects new life in the trilogy. I've never been disappointed by his films. I love JJ, but the Death Star planet in The Force Awakens killed the ending for me.
I agree with that, Langley. I don't think it's a perfect movie, right? But what I liked about The Force Awakens was the way that they captured the essence of things, and they cribbed stuff for sure. But the prequels did not have the essence of Star Wars, in my opinion. So to finally get a Star Wars movie that felt like it was in that world made me very happy. And it had its flaws, but it still was like a high when I saw the Millennium Falcon again. And when there were so many moments in that movie that I really enjoyed. So maybe it was just a bunch of moments strung together with stuff that I shouldn't be enjoying, but I loved the feel and the tone of everything going on there. I thought Rey was a strong character. And I thought that they also did a good job of giving us the BB-8 that's going to sell toys, and, the Porgy that's going to sell toys and all that shit. So even though that's not my focus, I know a lot of kids who really want their BB-8 Lego set, so I don't know. I get what you're saying. My
kids could care less, but they're weird kids. I couldn't disagree with you more about Rey. There's certain things about there's just not strong characters, and Rogue One was a much better version of that story, I thought, but it's still the same thing. I don't know. I think they're putting a lot of money into something, and the reason it felt like, okay, so Doug and I were there when it opened, and it felt nothing like Star Wars. I thought the one I saw, the original one I saw, but I can't be the 7-year-old kid again either, so I have no idea. But it showed things that were in the original movie, but that's why they copied the first movies. They wanted to try to copy that feeling, which again goes back to you can't copy cool. And Star Wars was cool. Star Wars can still be cool. There's so many cool things about it. And maybe that's what Rian Johnson got out of this. His new trilogy goes to a whole different part of the galaxy that knows nothing about Jedis, and we just do this universe or something like that. And do it in the vein of Star Wars Rebels. That would be rad. Yeah. don't make it this big sprawling thing. Maybe do a small Star Wars story.
Yeah.
Start
Which is what Rogue One was, and I'll always argue that the last half of Rogue One is a different movie from the first half of Rogue One.
totally.
And I loved the last half of Rogue One, but the first half I was like, what the fuck is everyone talking about? So I don't know. For me personally, it's like they're both incomplete movies in different ways, and I also see what you're saying, Gary. Like we need a complete Star Wars movie like Empire was at some point, and remaking Empire is not the way to do that. So my expectation just isn't I just don't think they're ever we're not getting another Empire in my opinion. So I just want to enjoy what they do give me to some degree.
Well, we are going to get another Empire, but only shot for shot.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And not to bag on it too much, this is the different Star Wars fans. Like I was a Star Wars fan who watched the movie, read the script, bought the original soundtrack, listened to it till it wore out, played with my action figures till it wore out, and then I was watching some Storytime YouTuber. Not to bag on her, it doesn't mean I like it more than she does, but her story about loving Star Wars was going to Hot Topic and buying a Star Wars shirt every week.
Right.
So that's the difference between
The
fans.
merch
Not
side.
saying one is better than the other. Actually, I think Star Wars would prefer her over me.
Yeah, the studio would love her.
Just like buying a shirt every damn week, even though I spent a bunch of money on stuff, I stopped because I wanted actually a good story. And Star Wars is like, it's the Beatles. It's something that's just love for what it is, but maybe read into way too. It's like the White Album and Charles Manson reading into that White Album a little bit too much. It was just an album. That's all it was. And this is just a movie. And there's so many videos dedicated to it that come up with such better ideas than the actual movie does.
I used to make movies with I had the Millennium Falcon and I had some Star Wars toys, but I just remember like Lando was my favorite. And so like I'd always make like Lando movies on the Millennium Falcon as a kid with my toys. And I think that as long as they can capture that in this generation, they're going to be happy. And if we, enjoy the movies on some level, I think that's an added bonus for the studio.
Where is Lando in this whole new trilogy?
Yeah. What the hell? My Lando's like up there.
Near Batman.
My original Star Wars figures are like on that wall.
The flashing lights up there? Seems like
you like my Christmas lights. I'm festive, but Dennis doesn't like Christmas or ice cream. So
big surprise.
Yeah, I know. He's all, your Christmas lights are giving me a seizure or something like that. Okay.
I didn't say that. I said someone from the down below is trying to contact you.
Bah, humbug. I thought it looked like the Popo was driving up behind him, but
It's my disco dance party. Hey. San Francisco. All right. So, hey, we got a couple more comments as we're saying our very long goodbye. This is like Dennis said, this is like a Lord of the Rings ending. Star Wars has always been a product. It's just now more blatantly corporate. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think it started out as an actual movie, but beyond that, yeah, right, it's a product. I agree. Force Awakens felt like Star Wars. They just need to stay away from retreading things moving forward.
Yes.
They need to give Rey a story, for Christ's sake, instead of going, she's just the bestest ever at everything. Look at, she touches.
I think there's some mystery about her background that got in the way of telling.
And my God, why is she holding a lightsaber? I mean, is that how you're supposed to? With her hands separate, it just looks wrong. Maybe there's some technical freaking ninja thing to where that's how you hold a sword. I know, I've just never seen it. So
she's holding it together because it's been broken. She dropped it before. So she's just holding the two pieces together.
She's trying to hold it together.
She like hands it to Luke and drops it. Oh shit! It's fine.
I'm gonna make a prediction right now that Captain Phasma gets locked in the toilet at the very beginning of this next movie.
Is that the Tarantino
she
film?
Locks herself out of she gets she loses her keys and locks herself in the toilet. I think 100% no studio would invest that kind of money into someone who didn't believe something absolutely at one point. A huge vote of confidence. Okay.
It didn't deliver.
It killed me to hear children call the prequel trilogy great old films. Yeah, they're kids. They're kids. You gotta.
Well, let's put it this way: J.J. Abrams got hired, and he's made it, for Star Trek, and he made it no secret that he was a Star Wars fan, never watched a single episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So they do hire people on who don't really care about the product and just.
Yeah, Bryan Singer. I'll did I just flash that article up? I've never read an X-Men comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then later on he said he read Superman comics. After, like, if you go into that article, he not only says he never read an X-Men comic, he says he never read a comic. So, and Matt Smith never saw an episode of Doctor Who before he was hired. Until he thought he was going to get the job. So that happens all the time. And sometimes that's very good because you're getting a fresh pair of eyes. But the
writer should know the source material. That's the important one.
Agreed. Rogue One had so many flat notes. It was tripping all over itself. Poor editing, inconsistent character development. CGI Tarkin while rendered.
Wow, I thought we were
admirably was too distracting. A CGI silhouette probably would have been better. Yeah, I agree.
Someone's been reading my notes.
I liked it, but I'll freely admit it's what John said. I like the ending, and if you take away Darth Vader slicing up a bunch of rebels at the end, I probably hated it. So, sorry, I really didn't like Rogue One. There's no need to apologize, Doug. I'm trying to be as nice as I can to Star Wars, because I want to like Star Wars. I mean, I'm never gonna love it again.
You want to believe?
I know. I just want to be entertained. Do I want to believe? No, that's X-Files. That's coming up soon. Indiana Jones, on the other hand, I never want to see another one again.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, stay the hell away. Let's not even talk about Crystal Skull, because that one did. I was so mad.
That's
at that
a legitimately bad movie. Yeah,
I was so freaking mad at that.
There's no redeeming quality there.
But it's got monkeys in it. You like monkeys.
The monkeys were the best thing in it. Believe me, they were the best thing at the CG monkeys and the CG gopher at the. It's okay. It's okay because there's good stuff. There's lots of good stuff. There's Mr. Robot on Wednesday, which we're going to cover. There's The Gifted. There's Runaways on Monday, which we're going to cover. Happy, loved Happy. That was so fun.
Me too. And I hear it gets better and better as it goes.
Oh yeah, dude. No, the reviews on it are amazing.
Yeah.
We only choose to believe them when they agree with us, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. So guys, any final words?
I got one more casting.
Oh boy. Go for it.
Halston Sage. She's the one that's on Orville. She plays the as Mystique.
The strong girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
There you go. That was my last one.
That's actually a good one. I like her. She would be very young Mystique though, because she's still a little girl. Mystique is a grown ass woman.
Well, the way they show her on the Orville is they kind of make her like really, really young. She's actually not bad in other roles. She's
really, really young.
She is really young, but she can look a little older.
She's
Langley
like
says
24.
you can see Halston Sage as Kitty Pryde. That I can actually
co-sign. Yeah, she's like Kitty Pryde as well. I had that as well.
I could see her dating my son. For some reason, I see very young.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Rebecca Romaine was an awesome Mystique that was never done right. You know what I mean? She was perfect for her. But no, Mystique needs to be like a really hot 40-year-old. Okay.
I also liked young J-Law in the first one.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
As the kid one. Yeah, she's all right. But Rebecca, the Mystique is a woman. Okay, not a girl. That's just the way I see it. Charlize Theron would probably be a very good Mystique. It's a little on the nose, but I think she'd be a good Mystique. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Margot Robbie. She could be anything. I agree with you, Doug. Margot Robbie would be a great Mystique. Catwoman.
Emma Frost.
Emma Frost. Jesus Christ. Gwen Stacy. Every female character in comic books, basically. She wins.
Yep. She wins.
Could be one dye her hair brown, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
She can be whatever she wants to be.
She-Hulk. I don't care. She was a great Harley. That's I think let's face facts. That's why every single person went to that movie. And they were surprised that what's his name was a good dead shot. So
Will Smith.
That Will Smith was a good dead shot, and the guy who played Captain Boomerang was really great too.
There was good, and Flag was good too. There was good performances, except for he was barely in it, and
Slipknot.
and he was barely in it too. Remember, they had him at all the talk shows and everything, and I'm like, the guy had a line. You know what I mean? It's like, what?
He was there to show everyone else what
The
they
Enchantress was horrible.
Yeah, Enchantress was terrible.
And you know what? In the trailer, she looks so cool.
Yeah,
You know, and she moved, and then like that whole disco dancing thing at the end,
the
with
weird
giant
undulation.
energy beam. The undulation and an energy beam flying, being shot up into the sky.
we should talk about trailers that were so good when the movie was either not or meh. You know, like there's so many of them. I would love to do a show about that.
Hey,
like,
one of you guys in the chats suggested we have a thing we haven't brought out yet. We've had a podcast in the can for almost a year that I'm almost done with. It's called DVD Vault, and we did Big Trouble in Little China review.
I forgot about that one.
Hey, it's not dated. We can put it out, and
right.
it doesn't matter when we recorded it. And the next one we're gonna do is Bubba Hotep. We're going to do Bubba Hotep.
Nice.
Yeah. So we had a request, and I think that might be good for like a Facebook only or Patreon or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I don't know if Patreon's going to have a future after today. So right after I set up all the damn levels, it freaking goes down the toilet. I'm like, God damn it. I mean, if they charge us a service fee, like me,
yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Right,
but
that's what all
people,
the Patreon people have said. They're going to reverse this. The people who get money through Patreon, like Rob makes tens of thousands. Like he makes so much money off this stuff from Rob as a podcast, and he basically petitioned them after to say, "Don't do this." Like nobody who actually
people have
money from Patreon wants this to happen.
A lot of people are petitioning them to reverse it. Yeah.
Hey, YouTube, the CEO finally came out and addressed that there might be a problem with 2017. I thought that was pretty incredible too. But yeah, these tech companies, the problem is they hire these. Everybody's got to watch Silicon Valley because it teaches you how this place works. And you think it's funny, but that's how it really works up here. They put no thought in anything, and they hire cookie cutter CEOs. Like this guy used to be a CEO at some razor company, so he was really good at selling razors. So let's have him be the CEO at Google. You know, it's like, what? You know, well, he was really good at facilitating razors. But
so Langley, that's what happened with Patreon. And just really quickly, they are applying a service fee to people who pledge now instead of doing it to the people who they're pledging. So like if you decide to pledge money to us, they would charge you a fee to make that pledge instead of just taking it out of our
2.9% plus 35
cents of the pledge. Yeah, that makes that was the dumbest decision. And because Dennis told me about it and I didn't know the details, and I read it and I'm like, that might be the dumbest decision in tech, in the history of tech. You actually got people going to a place giving people money. Like, you know how effing rare that is? And you're not getting...
We know how rare it is because we need you guys to sign up for our Patreon.
Yes.
We'll pay you back. You can build it in. Just pay $1 less to us and we'll still give you that incentive. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, if you pledge us $14 a month, we will give you the $15 a month pledge.
Yeah, I'm going to knock down the tiers $2 until that changes. Yeah, everything's going to go down 2.9% or whatever. But yeah, you finally get people to give their money for content and not, you know, in a very grassroots, awesome way, and then you charge them. That's so. That was all. No, wait. Square was bad too. Square was about to destroy the credit card market for retail. They had the best plan. It was like flat rate. We're not going to charge you any percentages. Sorry, this is boring. And they got everybody to do it. And the credit card companies started freaking out. And then Square just went ahead and started charging people like the credit card companies. And guess what? Square just turned normal after that. They were going to destroy everything, and they just made themselves average.
Yeah, they'll probably reverse this just like those.
I think so, because it's silly.
But in the meantime, if you guys pledge us a little, you know, we'll front you that 3%. So you'll still get your incentives if you're under.
I'll change that, or we'll put 2.9% more stuff on our pledge.
One or the other.
I'll figure it out.
Please still sign up. It's patreon.com/nerdrotic. We just got all of our, our stuff set up, all of our tiers set up. So anyway,
and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the bell. And we got Twitters. John is at JohnReed16. Dennis is at DeForce. All of our links will be in the description. Our main podcast is nerdrotic.com. That's where everything is. But do chat us up on Twitter and stuff. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear requests. If you have requests, Facebook, all that good stuff. If you do want to contact me about anything about the show, on the About section in the YouTube channel, there is an email address. Please email me with any questions, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Good night, everybody. We love you guys.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
We will be back next Friday for this, and Monday for The Gifted and Runaways. Take us out, Dennis.
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.